following show are not necessarily the views and opinions of WHPS, its affiliates, management, or sponsors.
It's that time, y'all. Black coffee, no sugar, no cream. Yeah, it's straight talk with Valerie. Come on. Black coffee, no sugar, no cream. Yeah, it's straight talk with Valerie. Come on. It's straight talk with Valerie. It's straight talk with Valerie. Come on. Black coffee, no sugar, no cream. It's straight talk with Valerie. Come on. Black coffee, no sugar, no cream. It's straight talk with Valerie. Come on. Black coffee, no sugar, no cream.
Good evening, good evening, good evening, and thank you for tuning in to 88.1 FM WHPR. This is Valerie Bonner, and this show is Black Coffee, No Sugar, No Cream, Straight Talk with Valerie. Before I begin the show, I went to a really nice celebration of life for Carl Carlton on yesterday. It was wonderful, and for those of you who believe in the power of prayer, please pray for Mr. Carlton. Why is that relevant to tonight's show? Well, his hit song was Bad Mama Jamma, and we have some Bad Mama Jammas in the studio with us tonight. We have some female veterans. As you know, every third Monday of the month is Military Monday. We have in the studio with us some women from the Women's Army Corps, and I'm going to introduce you to them. We have Miss Vita Frost. Say hello.
Well, hello.
And we have Miss Evelyn Kennedy.
Hello.
And we have Commander Clara Evans, who is the commander of the Keenan Rankin Disabled American Veterans Memorial Home, Detroit, Chapter Number 1.
Hello.
And we also have the public relations and public affairs person from the Women's Army Corps, Miss Lori Young.
Hello, everyone.
So, thank you for your service. I want to say that first of all, because freedom is not free. And when I salute the flag, it has nothing to do with the ills of slavery. You know, a lot of people say, oh, I don't want to salute the flag because the second stanza of the national anthem is against slaves and stuff. That's true. But when you see me salute it, it's because of you. It is because of your service. And because I know that freedom is not free. So again, thank you for your service.
You're welcome.
On June 12, 1948, what in the world? That's my own phone. That is my cousin Millard calling me. So excuse me for that interruption, but we will be playing some of his music this evening. So maybe that's why he was calling me back. So in 1948, on June 12th, President Harry S. Truman signed into the law the Women's Armed Services Integration Act that permitted women in the regular Army and the Organized Reserve Corps to officially become part of the U.S. Army. I thought that was an interesting fact. So when they started enlisting women, that further led to you being able to be enlisted.
Correct.
So with that, let's start with Miss Evelyn Kennedy. Were you drafted or did you enlist?
At that time, all women are not drafted at all.
Okay.
All women had to enlist.
Okay.
And you had to be a certain age to enlist.
Okay, and what age was that? Do you recall?
The age was from 18, I think from 18 to 35, but the starting age was 18.
Okay. Okay. And so what about you, Miss Frost? Did you enlist? And what made you choose the Army when you enlisted?
Well, Valerie, my intention was to be a prank, actually. I did not set out to join the military. I was a licensed cosmetologist and working as a cosmetologist, but I saw a commercial on TV said, "Be all you can be." And it seemed like fun, it seemed interesting, and so my friend and I decided to go, and we enlisted. And that's basically how it was. This was in 1985. And I got in and I absolutely loved it. I just stayed and stayed and stayed.
Wow. So let's switch over to Commander Evans. So when did you enlist? What made you select the Army?
Well, when I originally went in, I went into the Army National Guards, and then I went over to active duty. So I was an active duty guard, and I enjoyed it. It helped me to support my daughter.
Ah, okay. Okay. And Miss Young, what about you?
I initially went in because I was trying to get money together to go to school. That was my idea, was to go do a tour in the military, have money for college so that I could support myself. And I picked the Army because that was what I knew. I'd gone to a recruiting station with my cousin when she went to the Army, so I didn't have any information really about the Air Force or the other branches, and that's how I ended up in the Army.
Great. Thank you for that. Your first days of service. Let's go to Miss Evelyn Kennedy, because when you enlisted, or when you, yes, enlisted because you weren't drafted, was a different time and a different era from the other ladies. So what was the climate like for you at that particular time when you enlisted? Because in my mind, it's tough being in a male-dominated industry, whether that is the Army or whether that is corporate America. It's tough. And so what was it like for you when you enlisted?
I enlisted in 1961, and at that time, women had their own base, their own training center. Therefore, I was not connected with the men. I got on the plane for Fort Wayne, Detroit, Michigan, and from the airport, and flew to Alabama, and was transported by bus to Fort McClellan, Alabama, where I took my 8 weeks of training. So I was with all women until I finished my basic training. There, it was much different than it is today. Women were not subject to any combat training or anything. We had to do bivouac, but we were not subject to combat training.
And could you tell me what bivouac is? Is that to learn to do weaponry and all of that other stuff?
Yes, we had to go out. We only went out a couple of nights, had to spend the night, and do all the go through the gas chamber, that sort of thing. Pretend that we were in a active environment, and we had parachutes. Not parachutes, but bullets flying all over us, and we had to protect ourselves, to protect our partner, and that sort of thing. We had to go on marches. And going through the gas chamber was the real kicker. You had to go through the gas chamber with a full gas mask on and recite your serial number, and come out. That's one of the requirements of passing basic.
Wow.
So from basic, I went on to Fort Benjamin Harrison for finance training.
That's interesting. I have an uncle named Benjamin Harrison Evans. I wondered, did my grandmother have any type of military experience or exposure? I wonder, and I can't ask her. She is deceased. But thank you for sharing that history. So let's move forward to 1985?
Correct.
So tell me, when you enlisted in 1985, about that experience and a little bit about your basic training and what your experience was like. So at that time, were women integrated more with men?
They were in 1985. November of 1985, I left Detroit, Michigan. We didn't get the luxury of a plane. We took a bus ride all the way to South Carolina, to Fort Jackson, South Carolina. is where I did my basic training. And it's always segregated in terms of male and female in basic training. The Army remains that way, all services remain that way, but when you get to your advanced individual training, which is your MOS, your military occupational specialty, is what you've been forecasted to do as a job in the military. As Evelyn stated, she was finance, I was administration, so mine was done on the same post. I did my basic at Fort Jackson, South Carolina, and then right across the field was my advanced individual training, all females. So it was difficult, but it was doable. I had never held a weapon before, so I had to learn the M16. I was physically fit. I didn't have any physically fit challenges with physical training, PT, but where my challenges came in was, like she said, I was terrified of the gas chamber. I had heard about it, and you got to get in there. You go in there with the mask on, but when you get in there, you have to actually take it off. And you're exposed to a chemical agent, and you have to recite your name, rank, and serial number before you're allowed to get out. People pass out in there. So for me, it was very traumatizing, and, because you want to pass, you want to get through that, but I persevered, and I did, and I went on, and I just liked it. It was exciting, it was exhilarating, and I look forward to getting trained and combat training and different things like that, because it was something I had never did before.
Great. We're going to segue over to Miss Young. So, Miss Young, could you give me your take on your basic training and your experience? Because I believe Commander Evans' training would be a little bit different being in the National Guard, or maybe it's not. So, Miss Young, let's get your spin on your basic training and where you were at.
Well, basic training is the same, whether you go in for active duty or reserve training. I know you were National Guard. I went into something called delayed entry. So I actually enlisted for the military when I was in 11th grade. So I did drills 1 weekend a month for my senior year, and then 2 weeks after graduation, I shipped out to basic training also at Fort Jackson. And it was all women in my company. We had male units behind us or around us, but you are not integrated in basic training. And it was a good experience. It was a little misleading when I first arrived at reception. I thought, hey, if this is basic, this is cake. And 3 days later, it was like, oh, this is basic. So it was a little bit of a wake-up call there, but it was a good experience. And I really think that basic training is something that you have to experience. It's really hard to articulate what you go through, but it's a process. It's learning how to leave everything that you knew before and really just learning how to become a completely different person. You're there with people from all walks of life, and for many of us there in my unit had never even been with all these different types of people before, exposed to people from all over the country. There's so many different cultural differences. So it's really a great experience. It's a wonderful learning time. It's a wonderful time of bonding. It's a wonderful time of discovery as well. You find out a lot about your limits. My mother used to say, my family always says, if you stand for nothing, you'll fall for anything. You find out what you stand for as well, So I always say the military, some people go to the military to get discipline. Some of us have it when we get there, so you find out who you are, and it's just a wonderful experience.
Okay, so we're going to go to our first music break, and we will hear from Commander Evans after the break. I had to do
What you've done to me, I just can't believe. Just because you care, you keep me breathing your air.
So, thank you for tuning in to 88.1 FM. You're listening to Black Coffee, No Sugar, No Cream, Straight Talk with Valerie. And again, I have the Women's Army Corps in the studio with me this evening, and I'm happy to have them. During the break, you were listening to some music by Millard Thomas. That's my cousin. And the CD is called What's Your Request? And you can download that on iTunes. So if you like it, it's sort of like a gospel jazz. And it talks a lot about spirituality and God and things of that nature, but the music is more melodic and has like a jazz theme to it. So again, during the break, we were listening to music by my cousin Millard Thomas. Before that, we heard from the ladies, and they were telling us about their experiences when they enlisted and what that was like and what basic training was like. So we're going to go and hear a little bit from Commander Evans now. And Commander Evans, you were in the National Guard. So how did that differ, if at all?
It wasn't a difference. The National Guards is, they would call a weekend warrior, where we did our two weeks annual training and our 1 weekend a month. And then it's still an active National Guards, where the operation of the Guards is ran by active duty, and I became active duty after a couple of years of being in the Guard. I became a unit clerk. But the basic training, it's like they say, it was all walks of Army, National Guards, Reserves. We all do the same basic training.
I see.
And it do be just as females, you know, we could go see the men's on Sundays at church.
Is that where you met your husband, my uncle, during your Sunday visits off of the base?
No, I was stationed at the Armory on 8 Mile when I met my husband, Benjamin. He was a weekend warrior.
I see.
But he was a veteran, a Vietnam veteran, so he had did his active duty. He had finished his active duty, and maybe about 10 years later, he joined the National Guards, where he finished, and he has like 33 years total time in service.
Wow. Well, thank you for that, and thank you for that personal reflection. So, audience members, I'm getting a little bit of family history along with women's history on this evening, if you don't mind. So, let's move on. We have a lot of holidays. Veterans Day and, you know, a few other ways that we honor veterans as a whole. I would like to see more to honor women and what you have endured. There are approximately 14% of the military is made up of females, and there are about 1.8 million female veterans. I know one way that the government is honoring veterans by allowing certain auxiliaries and certain service organizations. So that brings us to the conversation I would like to have about the Women's Army Corps. And we're going to go to Miss Kennedy now. Tell us about the Women's Army Corps.
The Women's Army Corps Veterans Association. The Women's Army Corps was established in 1941. It was started out as the Women's Army Auxiliary Corps, and that was started by the Honorable Edith Norris Rogers, Congresswoman from Massachusetts, introduced the first bill to establish a women's auxiliary in May of 1941. On 14 May 1942, Congress approved the creation of the Women's Army Auxiliary Corps. 2 days later, Mrs. Ovida Culp Hobby was appointed the first director of the WAAC, as we call it. There were 5 training centers open at that time. Later on, President Franklin D. Roosevelt signed a bill on 1 July 1943, and 90 days later, the WAAC was disconnected, and in its place was the Women's Army Corps, and most of you know it as the WAC. Colonel Hobby continued as our director. That's the beginning history of the Women's Army Corps.
That is great. Can we segue into your chapter, which is the Women's Army Corps Wolverine, chapter 67? Is that correct?
Certainly. I'll be happy
So
to.
let's talk a little bit more about that, because I know you're the past president, and then we'll also hear after that from your current president. So tell us a little bit more about the WAC. Well, it has a different abbreviation now with it being, or does it?
It has a different connotation now. The Women's Army Corps was disbanded or retired in 1978 by Ronald Reagan. So, but prior to that, the Women's Army Corps Veterans Association, of which we are members, was formed by the mothers of women that were serving in the Army. And they wanted to do comfort items and anything for the women that were serving in the Army. All women were having a hard time in the Army. So our first chapter was started in 1943, and our first chapter was chapter 1 of out of Chicago. Then we had chapter 2 in Pittsburgh. The mothers proposed to help both men and women by serving in hospitals and the USO. Active members now of the Women's Army Corps and the Women's Army Veterans Association in the Chicago area met under the sponsorship of the WAC Mothers Association in January 46 is when it started.
Okay. Well, thank you for that history. So, how many years did you serve as the president of Wolverine Chapter 67?
Oh, wow.
More than we can count right now, huh?
I have served as president on and off intermittently for over 20 years.
Wow. That is sure dedication. You know, when I look at organizations such as the Women's Army Corps and, you know, Keenan Rankin, and the service work associated with it lets me know you were soldiers on and off the field, right? Because you're still serving.
Well, as our motto says, we are to provide service to both men and women. In the hospital, we do a lot of volunteer work, and that's our primary interest, to do the volunteer work to help the servicemen and women with their claims, disability claims, whatever. We serve comfort items to the men and women that are in the VA hospital. We have just a whole bundle of things that we enjoy doing.
Thank you for that. Let's move on to Miss Vida Frost. You are the current president. So as the current president, tell me a little bit about your role, what it is that you have currently going on. I know when we visited your office last week, I was amazed to see like the clothing room where you had clothes for people, and the room where there were all the toiletries and things like that. So tell me a little bit about your role as president currently, and a little bit more about some of the initiatives that the Women's Army Corps takes part in.
Okay, Valerie. I joined the Women's Army Corps Chapter 67 about 3 years ago as just a member, wanting to just get in to get my feet wet in a voluntary mode. After I got in and I noticed that Evelyn, her record was impeccable, and I saw in her myself, so I kind of said, I want to be your military daughter. I want you to teach me to do what you do. So she said, well, you have to run for an office. So I ran for vice president, and I achieved that. And I sat and I got a right seat ride from her, and I learned the ins and outs of the organization. And she says, daughter, I'm getting tired. I've been carrying this baton. I kind of want you to take it on. She says, we are a Congress chartered veteran service organization. That means that we stand shoulder to shoulder with the VFW, with the DAV, with the American Legion, and I want you to propel us into the future. So she's given me that opportunity, that right seat ride. We have an office at 4626 Grand River inside the Michigan Veterans Foundation building. We do have a clothing room. We provide toiletries, some sundries. We mostly try to help align veterans with their claims, so their disability service connected disability claims. We work hand in hand with DAV, disabled veterans. We are members of King Rankin and American Legion and VFW. In all those service organizations, the ultimate goal is to help the veteran. That's what we're there for. We're service organizations. We're to service them. We're there to help them. And that's what she's teaching me. And I'm very excited about doing it. I get up every day and I love to do what I do.
Thank you. That is amazing. So we're going to ease over now to Miss Lori Young. Explain your role, because I know you have a role like public relations and public affairs for the Women's Army Corps. So can you tell us a little bit about what your role is?
Yes, I can. One of the responsibilities of being a veteran, especially being a woman veteran, is being an advocate. One of the things that I take very seriously is the privilege of going to other women veterans and saying, this is an organization that is available to assist you. And saying to those women, when I walk through the doors of a VA hospital, when I walk through the reception center for basic training, I follow the women who went before me. So the experience that I had was in a way shaped by those women. Similarly, what I did when I was on active duty, what I do today is what I'm leaving for the women that come behind me. So with public affairs, one of the biggest issue in the veteran community is that there is a lack of awareness of the resources that are available, and there is a lack of advocates. Because women veterans are fewer in number than our male counterparts, we have to sometimes work a little bit harder to get comparable resources and to get the opportunities, because for many Americans, they mean no harm, but when they think veteran, they think male, because that's just the way that it has been. And so it doesn't mean that they don't appreciate your service. It doesn't mean that they don't have, respect for it. It just means that that's not the first thought. So you want to make sure that women know, one, that the resource is there. You want them to be able to connect with other women veterans. You want them to be able to remember the culture, the community that we have as Army veterans, because that is really, you can't purchase that. You know what I'm saying? So, that's my role, is to advocate, to help facilitate events and opportunities for us to come together, to build that camaraderie, to build the community, to make sure the resources are known about, and to make sure that the needs of the veteran community, specifically women veterans, is something that we are aware of, so that we can take up the challenge and advance our cause.
Thank you so much. And you're absolutely right, because I'm telling you, I thought that the VFW, American Legion, and all of that were places for me to hold a baby shower or a open house for a graduation. And I'm telling you the truth. So your role, Lori, is very, very important to get that awareness out. And that's why we have Military Monday as a platform every third Monday of the month, to create that awareness and to let people know what's going on for veterans, the services that's offered. You know, I will say personally, my husband was a veteran, and I could have used a lot of help when I struggled with him during his illnesses and things of that nature. He could have applied for a lot of benefits and got a lot of help, but there was no awareness. I didn't know about it. I'm hoping now that I know you ladies, I can do something posthumously,
Yes,
but
ma'am.
I knew nothing about it. So that awareness of what's going on, ideally to me, when a person is discharged, all of the services that are available or whatever should automatically be told to them. They should get some type of packet or something. And I'm not saying that they don't do that. My husband was a Vietnam veteran. Maybe he had that information and lost it somehow. But all I know is that the same government that got in charge with him to say, hey, you can't use your Ford insurance as primary, you need to use Medicare. That same correspondence could have said, and also you're a veteran and you're entitled to these things. And I wish that that would have happened. Let's segue a little bit, because Commander Evans, you are a member of WHAC, but you also have your own role with Keenan Rankin. So can you tell us a little bit about your role at Keenan Rankin? I know that you have service officers there and some of the things that go on at Keenan Rankin.
We're there to support the veterans in the neighborhood, the spouses, and their children, to assist them in whatever endeavor we can assist them in. And, you know, we do have families coming, and we have food we give out when other organizations donate it to us. Or, you know, they might come in and need some assistance financially. We can give them a little something. We don't have much because we're trying to improve some of the things in our building to make it suitable, because we're looking forward to having something like a warming center or something where the veterans can come, and a place where they can fellowship amongst each other, because veterans are very different. Like you said, you didn't know your husband was a veteran. A lot of veterans don't like to communicate with other people. They like to be amongst themselves. And by us having the building, the DAV, they can come near, even some VFWs. The guys come and the girls, and they sit down and we collaborate with each other about different things and give each other information to help, because no one knows it all. So we share information and to help each other, you know, with the benefits and knowledge that's out there for the veterans.
I appreciate that, and I hope everyone listening now realizes that you can go to the Keenan Rankin DAV or your American Legion and receive other services besides using the hall for a baby shower or something of that nature. So we're going to prepare to go to another break. You have been listening to Black Coffee, No Sugar, No Cream, Straight Talk with Valerie. It's Military Monday, and we are in the studio with the Women's Army Corps, and we'll be right back.
What you've done to me, I just can't believe. Just because you care, you keep me breathing your air.
are listening to more music by Millard Thomas Jr. off of his CD called What's Your Request. He is my cousin, but outside of that, he is a great musician. So you can download that CD off of iTunes, What's Your Request by Millard Thomas Jr. So back to what the Keenan Rankin has to offer, because I did joke a little bit about I only thought American Legions and things of that nature were used for baby showers. We know that there are service officers who take certain training, etc., to be able to provide services, but I have been to a couple of events at the Keenan Rankin DAV Memorial Hall. So, Commander Evans, can you talk a little bit about some of the things you have recurring, your hustle lessons, dance lessons, and things of that nature?
Well, I want to say, Valerie, yeah, we do have to give the baby showers and the cabarets and rent our hall, because that's a big part of us maintaining our building, is so we can get our bills paid and do the necessary repairs we need. But the Keenan Rankin, on Fridays, we have an after-work affair blues night from about 3 to 8 or 9. And on Tuesdays and Thursdays, we have a hustle class from 6 to 8. And our building is located at 13221 Puritan, Detroit, Michigan. It's in between the major streets are Myers and Schaefer. And our phone number is 313-272-1810.
Well, great. Thank you. So I know that I have partaken in a Mardi Gras event and some of the specialty fundraisers that are done at the Keenan Rankin. And I'll tell you, I've been to one of the Blues Fish Fry, and the food is good.
Yes, it is.
So come on in and try it out. Speaking of coming in and trying things out, if I'm a veteran, a military veteran, and I've been released from active duty, and I have an honorable discharge, I'm walking into your office, and I need some benefits because I'm having some challenges. I'm having some problems, and I need some help. Can you walk me through the process? So when I walk into your door and introduce myself, walk me through the process. What should I bring with me? You know, do I need to bring certain things with me? What do I do? So, Vita, can you explain a little bit of that? What does that look like?
That looks like you're going to come into our office, you're going to be greeted, you're going to be welcomed, we're going to give the proper military courtesy to you. We're going to try to navigate for you. If you want to join our organization, we are Women's Army Corps. So if you're an Army female veteran and you have a DD 214, which is your discharge from active duty, but we do have National Guard, they are eligible, the reserves are eligible. So whatever capacity that they served in, and you're correct, with an honorable discharge, then they are eligible to petition for membership. We'll take their information and send it to our national headquarters, and our national headquarters will vet that information and give that back to us. Now, with the regard to other branches, say Air Force, Marine, they can be members at large or honorary members. They can belong like an auxiliary. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, I do. So what I hear you saying is
affiliated.
Don't let the Women's Army Corps deter you, because if you're in other branches of service, you can still participate with you.
We have a member, Karen Fusel, that's an affiliate member. She's a Navy veteran.
Okay.
So yeah, you're absolutely correct that it's not just armed. We're not just exclusive like that. We're all sisters in arms, I like to say. So we would, like I said, assess you, and we have a person that works in our office. We have a chaplain that would assess you and see if you needed something right away. We are in a wonderful building of resources with Michigan Veteran Foundation. So a lot of the things that they can do an intake or assist us in doing an intake if somebody is in need. And then we also do work hand in hand with John D. Dingo VA Medical Center as well. So yeah, absolutely. You should come and see us and petition for membership. We would be glad to have you in the ranks. And don't forget your DD 214. You're going to need that. And everyone knows that that's your discharge information. And we're going to get you squared away.
That's good. So let's just have another scenario. If I've been homeless and I don't have access to my DD-214 or some of those documents, do you assist helping us receive that, or is that something you're in partnership with the VA to do?
That's no problem. We are in a facility that can get it, and it can get it online for you. You will get it. We work hand in hand every day. We see this every day. So we're very familiar with that. That is no problem.
Great, great, great. So I'm going to segue over to Miss Lori for a minute because I want to continue to promote the Women's Army Corps and what you do. So could you give me some guidance on what do you feel like you're most known for? If I'm promoting you and I'm talking to other people about the Women's Army Corps, what do you feel like you're known the most for?
Women's Army Corps is most known for its history. When you say the term WACs, you know, you can go anywhere and say a WAC, and people immediately, they know what you're talking about. So it's our history that we just had our 73rd convention. It's a long-standing organization. It's the only organization that stood this long to honor women veterans. You know, when women first went into the military, it was a necessity. Do you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Now it's more of a choice. You choose if you want to go, but there was a time when women had to go into the military, and we know how that transpired over time. But when you look at that long history, when you see that women have been taking up their positions, they've been supporting the country, they've been taking the same oath that men have been taking, they have been making that same sacrifice for decades, for generations now. You know, that is significant, and I think that's what we're known for. We're known for our history, we're known for our camaraderie, we're known for our service. You know, we are known for showing up in hospitals, we are known for showing up to do the things that need to be done, and that's important that we stick to our word, that we honor the community, that we don't forget that community that we served, and that we are active in the communities that we live in.
I appreciate that very much, and that was a very concise explanation that I know I would be able to tell someone. The Women's Army Corps is known for their history, their service, and they can help you. They can help you get your benefits, and it's a sisterhood, and they want to serve. So you were soldiers on and off the battlefield. I would like to go now to donations. If I wanted to make a monetary donation to the Women's Army Corps, how would I do that? Do you accept monetary donations?
Oh, certainly. As most charity organizations, we are a charity organization. We are a 50C319, which means it's a 50C3, but the 19 means that we're a military organization. And you can contact us at 4626 Grand River. You can send your donations there in care of the Women's Army Corps Veterans Association, and they will get it to us. Or you can come by and see us. We do meet for veterans, female veterans out there. We do meet every last Saturday of the month at 1 o'clock. I don't know, we accept clothing, especially female clothing. Mm-hmm. We accept sundry items to help our female veterans along. Anything that you would normally give to Goodwill or anything, we accept that. No furniture. We don't have the facility for furniture yet.
Okay, got it. So if you want to give to a charitable organization that represents a great cause, the Women's Army Corps is that organization. And as you heard, they accept women's clothing, sundries, toiletries, and things of that nature. For more information on how to donate and what to do, you can contact the current president, Vita Joyner Frost, at 313-218-8519, and she certainly can give you further instruction on how to do that. There are some upcoming events that are going to take place, a veteran stand down. So, Ms. Kennedy, can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yes, there's going to be a veteran stand down at Detroit Light Guard Armory, 4400 East 8 Mile Road, Detroit, Michigan, 48234. This will be held on Wednesday, October 16th, 2019, from 8:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. This is the stand down, but during that stand down, 36th District Court will hold a Veterans Treatment Court. They will accept all veterans, but you must pre-register, and you can also contact Ms. Joyner on the pre-registration. Judge Shannon Holmes will hold court, and that for veterans. If you have tickets, any business with the 36th District Court, as a veteran, you can come down. She will hold actual court and judge the cases as she will legally. Judge Shannon's a wonderful judge. She's a veteran. She's a caring judge, and she will do everything legally possible to help you with your case.
I appreciate that, because that's another, what I call a little known secret to me, was that there is a veterans court. I know Judge Deborah Thomas also does a veterans court, and veterans have different circumstances that may perpetuate some of the decisions that they have made that landed them into the court situation. So going into a veterans court is very helpful, because you're dealing with someone that understands you're a veteran, the post-traumatic stress and things you may have been experiencing, any other mental health issues or trauma that may be associated with your behavior that landed you in court, especially drug court. You know, there is a lot of PTSD, stress, and other things associated with substance use disorders. And I believe going to a court that specializes in that, especially for veterans, is especially helpful. So please, if you can come to the veteran stand down, please do so. I think it will be a great opportunity. So as we prepare to close, I'm excited. I'm excited to be in the room with female veterans who serve this country, because again, I say freedom is not free. Thank you for being away from your families, being away from your children, and sacrificing your lives and putting them on the line for my freedom. I appreciate it. As we prepare to close, I wanted to know and open up the floor for you to give you the opportunity to say anything that you would like to say about WAC that we missed, or anything that you would like to say about Keenan Rankin DAV that we have missed this evening. And if you feel like we've covered it all, that's great as well. Anything?
Well, I would like to thank you, Valerie, for inviting us this evening. I would also like for you to know that the Women's Army Corps Veterans Association is the only female congressionally chartered female organization, and we are nationally known. If you do not, we are the only chapter here in Michigan.
Oh, wow.
And so therefore, if you're out of state and just happen to be listening this evening, we encourage you to check and see. We do have a website. The website is www.armywomen.org. Let me repeat that, please. www.armywomen.org.
Great. I thank you for that. Anything from you, Mrs. Frost? Any parting words you would like to share with our listeners? As a matter of fact, I heard you say, Ms. Kennedy, that you were the only chapter in Michigan, and if you were outside of Michigan, I didn't want to increase the anxiety, but we're also live in the Virgin Islands right now as well. So, and anyone else that's listening across the internet, but you are also live on 107.3 WVIE in the Virgin Islands simultaneously as being heard on 88.1 WHPR. Ms. Frost, is it anything you would like to say as we prepare to close?
I'll just piggyback on Evelyn. Thank you for having us. It's been a real wonderful experience. I hope that you'll invite us to come back.
I will.
And we want every veteran to have peace. We want every veteran to know that we are here for you. And we want you to know we thank you. If nobody else has told you thank you, we thank you for your service.
I appreciate that. Any parting words for you, Commander Evans?
No, I just would like to thank you for inviting me. And Keenan Rankin, thank you for advertising for us and all the veterans, because we need to let the people in the community know Keenan Rankin is available to assist the veterans and their family.
Thank you. And last but not least, Ms. Lori, is it anything that you would like to share with us that we have not shared, or any parting words?
Just thank you so much for inviting us to be here and giving us the opportunity to share with other veterans in the community. And thank you for your Military Mondays, for taking the time on your show to make your service and resources available to the veteran community. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much. The pleasure is all mine. It really is. That's the least I can do for all the sacrifices that you have made for me and others in this country. So you have been listening to Black Coffee, No Sugar, No Cream, Straight Talk with Valerie. Again, this is Military Monday, and we're preparing to close out. You've been listening to the music of Millard Thomas Jr. off of his CD called What's Your Request? That is my cousin, who I love dearly, and you can download that CD on iTunes. Listen, as I say weekly, and as I'm about to say again, Black Coffee is not about spilling the tea or to daze you like you've drank a shot of cheap liquor. It's just to get you to see things from a different point of view, mine's. We will see you next week. Have a great week, and thank you for listening.